On my right is a $300 premium buy once cry once Helinox camping chair. And on my left is a $60 Amazon UR Pro chair. On paper, they look very similar. Both are very lightweight, both pack very small, both have aluminium frames, and both have a 145 kilo weight rating, which begs the question, why is there such a huge price difference? To answer this question, I took both chairs on a remote family beach trip to find out if this premium Helinox is actually 5 times better than the budget alternative, or if the Amazon chair is good enough at a fraction of the price. In this video, we will have a closer look at the build quality and design of both chairs, see if there's a measurable difference in their construction, and compare their features. I'll also share the result of how the chairs held up against my kids' torture in our recent camping trip. Before we get into the review, as always, this is not a sponsored video. Both of the items were paid for with my own money at full retail price, and any opinions I share today are my own opinions. So if you do find value in these kind of honest reviews, click that subscribe and like button for me to show your support, and let me know if you enjoy this video in the comments below. Also, there are Amazon links in the description below to both chairs, so you can check them out yourself. Let's get straight to business. Usually when we camp, we would take a random assortment of chairs. My beloved Helinox Savannah, a few cheap Bunnings chairs, and really whatever we need. But for this trip, things had to be done very differently. First, we planned this trip around the trailer in mind. However, due to unforeseen delays with the build, we had no trailer. That meant that we were very limited on space. We had to prioritize food, water, firewood, and fuel. We were literally packed to the brim. Second, in recent camping trips, we have had a few of the Bunnings chairs snap, and I didn't really want to be wasteful with disposable chairs for every trip. The only thing worse than carrying broken gear back home is leaving it behind at rubbish in your campsite, and I'm not that kind of guy. So space was non-existent, and I needed good quality camping chairs immediately. Now, I've owned this Helinox chair for about 6 months now. It is absolutely fantastic and I love it. But at $300 for a single chair, I couldn't justify spending another $900 for 3 more, let alone having the willpower to try to explain to my wife why I've spent $1,200 on 4 camping chairs when she thinks they're worth $10 from Bunnings. Because space was the issue, large chairs weren't an option even if I wanted to go down the Bunnings path. There was absolutely no free space left. So I decided to jump on Amazon and do a bit of research, and I found this UR Pro alternative for just under 60 bucks. However, because not all things online are always as they seem, I bought this one to have a closer look just in case it was a dud. But when I did receive it, I was so impressed that I ended up buying 2 more chairs, a total of $179 for 3 chairs. Think about that, 3 chairs for almost half of the price of just this one chair. That's quite a big difference. Now, I'm not here to tell you that these are better than the Helinox. I hope not, because I'd be quite disappointed in myself having already spent the money on this. But I really wanted to see what you get for your $60 compared to your $300. Like always with my reviews, let's start with the specs and the design first. Both the chairs have alloy frames, breathable mesh, and have the same weighting of 145 kilos. The Amazon chair is a touch lighter at 1.45 kilos compared to the Helinox at 1.9 kilos, and it also packs down slightly smaller, which makes sense since it is a smaller chair. However, these differences are hardly noticeable unless you're counting grams and centimeters. Both the chairs are very light and they both pack very small. To check if the cost difference was in the frame strength, I got the calipers out to see if there was a measurable difference in metal thickness and size. The Helinox and the Amazon chairs both had similar frame-based rod diameters at 18.6 and 18.2 millimeters respectively. However, the Helinox legs are slightly thicker with a diameter of 18.6 millimeters versus the Amazon's 15 millimeter diameter. But the narrower Amazon chair legs actually had thicker aluminium walls at 1.4 millimeters when compared to the Helinox's 1.1 millimeter walls. Moving up to the backrest, and the Helinox uses wider tubes for the first segment at 15.6 millimeters versus 12.5 millimeters of the Amazon chair, with the Helinox also having slightly thicker tubes at 1.5 versus 1.4 millimeters. With the top segments, both chairs do thin out to an identical 1 millimeter thickness, but the Helinox again had the wider diameter tubes. I ran the numbers to work out what is better, wider, thinner tubes or narrower, thicker tubes, and the Helinox is about 65% stiffer than the Amazon chair. But it is also more prone to damage, which will immediately compromise the rigidity. And the easiest way to imagine this concept is to imagine standing on an empty drink can. It is surprisingly strong, but as soon as there's a kink or a dent in the can, it immediately collapses as soon as you stand on it. The design of both frames are also very different in two aspects. The backrest of the Helinox is straight, and the Amazon chair has a bit of a shape like fork, but both chairs' backrests do open outwards at a similar angle, which I assume is to add a little bit of tension to the fabric to reduce sagging. Next is the plastic fittings that hold the aluminium poles, and this is a critical structural item. The Helinox and the budget chair have approached this very differently. The Helinox has a little bit less plastic, but has reinforced ribbing, where the cheaper Amazon chair has deeper plastic sleeves. In my view, the Helinox will be stronger against bending and twisting due to that reinforcement, but it is a little bit more prone to being damaged if the poles are not inserted properly. Where the Amazon chair has bigger plastic sleeves covering the poles, but no reinforced ribbing. However, a major difference is that the Helinox base is glued as a single structure, where the Amazon chair is segmented and free spinning. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that to me means that the Helinox plastic mounts have to deal with three types of forces. Compression, where the sides of the frame are being pushed towards each other. Torsional, which is a twisting force, like when the chair is on uneven ground and the left and right legs aren't level. And tensile forces, with the feet trying to pull away from each other under the weight of the user. The $60 chair in comparison just has to deal with one of these forces instead of all three. Because the axle, if we can call it that, spins freely and moves outwards and stretches, there is no force on the plastic if one of the sides of the chair is sitting differently to another, or if the left and right sides are pulling away from each other. The only force that it has to fight against is the compression of the forks as you sit on the chair. Whilst this design makes the Helinox slightly easier to work with during assembly, especially if you're holding it up in the air, I think the free spinning design of the Amazon chair base will be more durable, as it's just going to flex and twist as opposed to straining the glue holding the frame together. Possibly the reason why the Helinox has so much reinforcement in that area and the Amazon doesn't is it doesn't maybe need it. But moving on to the legs themselves, and a key difference seen is that the Amazon chair has these weird shaped discs near the bottom. They kind of look a little bit silly, but they do have a fantastic benefit, and I'm going to talk about this more later on. Looking now at the seat part of the chairs and fabric, both chairs are a mesh design, which is great for using in hot weather, and the material on both chairs looks to be waterproof. The Amazon chair does have a headrest, where the Helinox has a pouch for you to insert your towel or the chair back to use as a headrest, but it's not a big deal, both are equally as comfortable. Both chairs have pockets on the side, and the Helinox has a perfectly rounded cup holder for your drink can, where the other chair has a bit of a pouch that you can easily expand to hold your drink. Both are just usable as each other, and it really comes down to personal preference here. I personally prefer the Amazon chair pouch because it can hold my phone, keys, sunglasses, and closes up, so when the chair inevitably tips over due to the wind, you don't lose your belongings. But if you do like to have a cold drink with you at all times, I reckon the Helinox will be better because you don't have to open up the pouch every time you want to put your can in there. In terms of fabric quality and stitching, the Helinox, as expected, appears to be better reinforced and stitched, but visually here, there doesn't seem to be a huge lack of quality for the Amazon chair, although I suspect that the Helinox will be ahead in that aspect. Only time and heavy use is going to reveal the weakness in the stitching for either chair, to be honest with you. But a noticeable difference is that the sleeves on the backrest poles are much tighter on the Amazon chair than the Helinox chair, making assembly more fiddly. This might make it more difficult when you're trying to assemble the Amazon chair in low visibility conditions, nighttime, when you're wearing thick gloves in winter, or for those who are elderly or can't see very well. And when assembled, both the chairs are very similar, but the Helinox is slightly taller and wider, which again explains why it's a little bit bigger and heavier when it's packed up. Now let's talk about how they actually performed in our recent trip against the elements, and more importantly, my kids. During our trip, I didn't notice anyone in the family gravitating towards any single particular chair. And to me, that is a sign that the chairs are just as comfortable, because normally the kids would be fighting about whatever's best, but they just grabbed whatever was close, and that tells me they're both just as good as each other in that aspect. Everyone was happy to sit in whatever chair was free and near them. I spent the first day of the trip asking the kids to stop swinging and hanging on the chairs like monkeys, but they ended up winning and I just gave up and let the kids be kids. And I'm happy to report that all the chairs survived the ordeal. Due to the lightweight design, both chairs suffered equally from being blown over with the wind whenever there was a gust and nobody was sitting in them. So care needs to be taken when you're leaving them next to a fire pit unattended, or if you're camping somewhere where the chairs can be blown away and carried away, like next to a river or a cliff or the beach or something like that. But a trick that I've found to deal with this issue is just when you get up, just tip them over in the direction of the wind or prop them against the car or a swag or a tent when you're not using them. In our trip, the cheaper Amazon chair did demonstrate one massive advantage over the more expensive Helinox. On the sand, the Amazon chair's rounded platform feet floated on top of the sand, which was a huge perk when the Helinox's feet acted like pegs. In the sand, when you sit in the Helinox, the feet sink in, making the chair unstable, which is something to be mindful of, especially after a few glasses of red. And so in sand environments, the Amazon chair is always going to be my pick, and you'll see that in the photos and videos where we didn't really take this one to the beach. We just took these. Also worth noting that throughout the trip, the kids were not only swinging on the chairs, but they were also hanging off the back and the sides of the Amazon chairs. So the stitching was really starting to show some strain and gaps. Perhaps this is a byproduct of that flexible base design, meaning that the stitching has to cope with the forces when the seating is uneven. But I do have to put my hand up and admit that I didn't let the kids swing on my Helinox the same way as the Amazon chairs, and it's simply because I didn't want them to break my expensive chair that I like a lot. Therefore, in saying that, I can't confirm definitively if both the chairs would have held up the same or the cheaper one has worse stitching. I didn't want to put them both through that ordeal and lose my money. But to me, this is the only potential weakness or point of failure when comparing the two chairs against each other. The fabric and the stitching does look a little bit more robust on the Helinox, as you would expect from the price point. How long the Amazon chair can hold up for depends on how they will be treated over time, which I guess applies to everything you own in general. You do get a 5-year warranty with the Helinox, but reading the terms and conditions, it covers only manufacturing defects. Therefore, negligence, wear and tear are not covered. However, they do state that the fabric, seams and construction are within the warranty coverage, but it's at their discretion after inspection. So take that 5-year warranty with a grain of salt. Where with the $60 chair, you're probably going to get the standard 12 months warranty. In saying that, Amazon are spectacular in processing returns and refunds, even if the seller refuses to respond or doesn't respond, as I've found from some of the camera gear I've bought in the past. So back to the original question, is the $300 Helinox worth 5 times more than the $60 Amazon alternative? There is no doubt to me that the Helinox is a better chair. It's thicker, it's more robust, it looks like quality, plus it does have a 5-year warranty if they do honor it, but you kind of expect that when you pay that much money. I have no regrets buying the Helinox, and if you are a lone wolf camper or you're on a big income, then yes, buy the Helinox. Just need to be mindful on sand. However, for families that need multiple chairs, or for those who can't justify $300 for a single camp chair that's going to be used a few times a year, but want something that packs small and light, this $60 Amazon chair is a very hard deal to beat. Even if the stitching falls apart in 2 years, I could take it to a local canvas repair shop and get it reinforced, and then it's probably going to be just as strong as the Helinox, and I'm still going to be saving a few $100s. For my money, for this trip, the budget chairs punched way above their weight, and I'm very happy with my purchase. Even though the Helinox is a spectacular chair, if I found these Amazon chairs to start off with, I don't think I would have given the Helinox a try at $300 to begin with, but I was sold on it after watching a YouTube video where the influencer was given the chair for free. And yes, this Helinox chair is absolutely amazing if you need only one and cost is not a factor for you, or if you were given the chair for free. But if you do have to pay your own money for it, it does make you think twice when you have an alternative like this. So you let me know in the comments below. Which chair do you think will suit you more, and which one would you rather spend your money on? $300 or $60? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching again, and I'll catch you in the next video.